Season 2, Episode 3. Just Another Plotting Process with Amy Bell.
Hello and welcome to How to Survive Until You're Published, because if you're drowning in words, so are we, and you might as well not do it alone.
Okay, so we're doing this episode because you used to be a pantser, but recently you turned plotter.
Yep.
What changed?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. Well, okay, so I'll be honest. I've always kind of been a plotter.
Yeah, that's fair. You're kind of a planter.
Yeah. So, I've always had a very organized brain. I'm the one at the house that has to clean every night, and I have everything very organized. I was,
Has a
raised that way.
specific spot.
Yeah, so, when I got into writing, I was like, ooh, I'm really excited to, start figuring out how I can, plot cool things and, put things in boxes and all this stuff. And then I just realized how insanely stressful it is. So I didn't give up per se. I just was trying to discover what worked for me. Right.
That makes sense. So you recently figured out what plotting thing kind of works for you, what plotting process. Yeah. So what process have you found works for plotting, and what led you to this?
So I'll give you the basics up first for plotting specifically. This was way back when I started writing in 2020, so I was on this fire of, ooh, I'm gonna plot, I'm gonna do all these cool things. So I started Googling all these different softwares that you could install to plot, because I'm a techie, so I love different little knick-knacky things. And I just remember running into this one thing. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, love J.K. Rowling, and so I kept seeing this thing pop up that was J.K. Rowling, how she plotted Harry Potter, and it was just her writing out a spreadsheet on a piece of paper, and I loved it, and I was like, that is cool, and I just kind of plugged it away a little bit for later. So basically I kind of came back to that at this point because I felt like I was ready for it.
Nice. So how does that work with the spreadsheet? What do you need to know for your story, and what all do you include in the spreadsheet? Okay,
so let me say first, I feel like this process is definitely for those that are well seasoned in their novel.
Okay.
You know your novel pretty well. I'm on draft 7. I've been doing this for a hot minute. I'm on 100 of my characters, So I feel pretty comfortable. I'm not quite all the way there yet, but I'm pretty comfortable. And so it helped. This was just a good layout process. So what I started with, and we're going to make a little video about this and put it on our Instagram page so you can kind of see. Just
different reels, and we'll probably upload a longer thing to YouTube.
Yeah, just because, it's kind of helpful. I hope it is helpful for somebody. This is just what I've done. So I called the basis of the idea, the first part, I called journeys, because I'm dumb. I just thought, oh my gosh, my characters have journeys, so I'm just going to put
arcs.
Journeys in there. Yeah, it's just arcs. So what I did, I use Scrivener, so I would have 2 documents for each character, one for their emotional journey and one for their practical journey, because we've read Save the Cat, we've read Lisa Cron. All characters have a story drive, and then all characters have an emotional drive in their story. So 2 plot lines that have to kind of all come in together and mesh. And so that was kind of where I began, because I wanted to make it simple. And so the first thing that I did was I wrote down I wrote down 4 questions. Where did the character start? What happens at the inciting incident? Where's the character at in the middle? And then where are they at in the end? Just basics. No save the cat beats.
Yeah, just what you knew.
Super just. And yeah, the biggest thing that I focused on was just because I've been doing this for so long, I focused on my gut feeling of what I knew about my character.
That makes sense.
What do I know is actually true? because I've gone through 800 versions.
Yeah. And you did this for like their emotional and practical goals,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Well, like emotional
or journey
first.
First, and then
Because like the emotional is going to like
feed into the...
guide you to the practical. Because
That makes sense.
you want your practical, the external forces of the world, of everything that's going on, to poke and prod at their emotions, so that it like makes them grow.
Yeah.
And that is the part that I'm struggling with right now. Fun fact.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's what I did. And I just kept it really simple. And it helped because it wasn't super complex and I could just answer the questions. It's just like a worksheet, you know?
Yeah.
Answer the questions. No big deal. No big deal. It's not gonna be easy. The other thing that I love to do, you know, going to my pantsing stuff, if I like wasn't feeling it and really couldn't figure it out, I'd hit enter a few times and I'd turn on the italics and I'd just pants a scene.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah, I would just say like, okay, at the beginning, where are they at? Let's see. My main character, she's jumping off a roof, which is what happens. So what's she thinking? You know, italics, let's go. And so I would just kind of see if I could get the feeling, because that's one of the things about, you know, how I write is
Yeah, I think that's a good way to write too, because like, I don't know, for me, if I hit writer's block, it's usually because something's wrong with the story. The characters are not quite jiving like they should.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think I like that.
Yeah, it just kind of breaks you out a little and helps you. And then, yeah, so I did this with I have two main POVs. So I did emotional and practical, and then I did one for my villain as well.
Because that's super important.
It's super important. Yeah, you always want to know like your protagonist and your antagonist as much detail as you possibly can know. Yes, dig into it. So one of the things I also learned was in doing this, it's okay to kind of jump from idea to idea. Excuse me. As you're like, you know, creating these worksheets for each of your characters. If you get stuck on one, go to another one, and then go to another one, just to kind of keep yourself moving and keep yourself motivated. And then I did do journey for the character's relationship. So, you know, I'm writing partially a romance, you know, 'cause that's what I love. And I feel like that is important because you're in a romance, your characters should kind of fit together like a puzzle piece. Like they should fill each other's needs in a way and help each other to get to the goal that they're trying to get to at the end, and fill a crucial role in that. And so I just for that, so that I could break out those pieces. So that brings me to the spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. So J.K. Rowling's super duper cool spreadsheet, I just did in Google Sheets. So on the columns, what I did was each of my different plot lines, and that's what
and kind of like a timeline on one too, right?
Timeline on the rows.
Oh, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So like the columns are the plot lines. So like the emotional plot line, practical plot line, and then like other side plot lines.
Okay.
Like I had
Like here's your subplot for your romance, or like
yeah, subplot for this, like, and then just like other things that could be going on in the background that you might lose track of. Make a column for that. So yeah, I had like 15 or 20 of them.
Yeah.
A lot. But it helped me be able to keep track of everything. And then yeah, and then the rows going along, going down the spreadsheet is the timeline. So I didn't know my chapters, so I didn't do my chapters. That's how J.K. Rowling did it. But I worked more on timeline basis, and then I would break out what chapters I wanted to designate, what scenes I wanted to designate for chapters and stuff as I got into it. Anyway, it just helps you to be able to document everything. And if you're like me, I forget so quickly and so easily, and it is extremely frustrating. And so being able to have a dedicated little square for it helps so much, because you won't forget and you won't lose track of it. And writing is a delicate process, and it's cool to be able to see those red herrings and everything. And it's even cooler as an author to control where they are and where they go. So this process really helped me to be able to do that. And I've done round 1, and I'm actually going to come back and do it again after I figure out some more things. So
I kind of like that, though, because I think too often I've noticed in my drafts and in other people's drafts that I've, like, read through, we meet, like, a side character, or we have this mystery planted, and it might disappear part of the way through the draft, either just because the draft changes and, like, the plot changes because they need to come back and fix it later because it's not, like, a polished story, and that's fine. Yeah. But sometimes you do just honestly forget, like, oh, yeah, I did have this side character and they're not playing a significant enough role in it or something like that. The worst is when you see this in published books.
Yeah.
I can think of 1 or 2 that I'm like, okay, did we just forget these characters existed? I'm not going to name them because that's just rude. But it's very rare. And it's very rare that I really so dislike a book. But nothing will pull you out of it more than those little details being forgotten. So I think having a spreadsheet like this is super helpful for, like, an author writing it.
Yeah. And I definitely want to say, too, like, this might not be the right thing for you right now. That's kind of what I've learned is that, like, you kind of have to try all the avenues. Like, I feel like last season we did a totally different process.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And it was super cool and super helpful for where I was at in my novel at the time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it goes. You just have to try different things at different parts of your novel. And it's the same with when you work on a new novel.
Yes.
You're going to have to try different things at different times.
To learn different things.
Yeah.
Who was it? It was a keynote at Storymakers.
Was it Catherine
Yes.
Patterson? Yeah.
And she said, like, each time you write a book, you're going to learn how to write a book again because it's going to be a different process.
Yeah, it's, like, totally different every time. And I totally laughed at that because it's so true. Like, it's you're tackling a whole new beast, you know? You got brand new characters. It's, like, hard. So, yeah, be patient with yourself. It's trial and error. Just try different things. And this is just another tool in the toolbox if it's something you want to try.
Okay, yeah, so kind of in preparation for this episode and the next, I did try your plotting structure, this new one. Just, you know, to see, like, almost to, like, poke the bear, see if I could break it, or see if it, like, worked for me. I did not use this with my current work in progress that I'm working on, which is a new story idea. I used this for a previous one when I'm trying to figure out how I could make it fit, like, shift the genre and make it more adult. And I loved it because the timeline was really messy in my previous drafts, and I usually forget about timelines when I'm writing, so I like to have that in the columns because suddenly a day felt too long in my writing, or I realized that, you know, my characters are 3 days past the deadline they were supposed to meet. So it was really helpful. But we kind of already did touch on this. I do have to say, I think it comes in handy when you know your story and your characters. And it might be difficult to start a draft out with this plotting structure. It was also kind of overwhelming for me. I had to take breaks from it a lot because it's just...
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's like a massive giant homework assignment.
Yeah, it is. It's huge.
It took me like 3 days.
That's shorter time than I would have. I still haven't finished mine. I think I spent 3 days on it. I was like, whoa, this is a lot.
It's a lot. But I mean, you know, if you're trying to do it, it gives you one central location instead of like
5 different documents.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you have any advice though for people trying to tackle this as a project for a story they really know, or even for first timers?
Yeah. So this was one thing that I learned through my process. I just get really frustrated and overwhelmed by all of the things that you have to do. Like, when it comes to writing in general and when it comes to plotting, there is a lot. It is a massive amount. Not only do you have to be a psychologist, you have to be like a serial killer and like everything else, you know, that's a part of your writing. And so what I liked about this is that it kind of let me take it piece by piece. It let me, like, you know,
here's the emotions, here's the...
Yeah, like it let me take one bite out of the elephant, you know, just one piece at a time. And it was hard for me, but I had to like zero in my mind onto this one square. Let's just think about this right now. We're not going to think about all the other stuff. Just think about this one or this question or whatever. And it just kind of helped my brain zero in on it. It's definitely like a massive giant worksheet, but like it's one that you can fill out over time.
That's
and it's
fair.
one you can change over time. but it helps you at least to categorize it and block it in and say, this is where this goes. This is where this goes. This is how this works.
I guess that's how you could kind of, use it as a first draft plot too, is focus on this character. Maybe you just had an idea for a character and like, oh, what kind of journey would challenge them? Focus on it square by square, and you're probably not going to have it as fleshed out in 3 days as you did with this story you know super well, but that might be a way to use it for a first time.
Yeah. Again, this was totally just another idea.
Yeah.
Just another plotting process.
Yeah.
So our challenge for you for this week is to pick any aspect of what we talked about and just try it. You could try the spreadsheet thing. You could try the journeys thing. You could try whatever. Just anything that kind of stuck out to you during this episode. Give it a shot. Sit down and try it. Break out of your mold and just try something different.
And you can find all this and more on our Instagram at a Writer's Survival Guide, on our website, A Writer's Survival Guide, and our Facebook and YouTube channels, How to Survive Until You're Published.
See ya in 2 weeks.